Today, we're going to go on an incredible journey, not to some distant star, but somewhere way, way closer, inside your own body. And the way we're getting there, it's something you do thousands of times a day without even thinking about it. A single breath.
Go on, do it with me. Breathe in and out. Feels pretty simple, right? Almost automatic. But in just those few seconds, your body pulled off a whole series of stunningly complex, perfectly timed events. We're going to follow that single breath from start to finish and see what really just happened.
So our journey is going to take us through two main systems. First up, we have the respiratory system. You can see the lungs there. That's our port of entry. And then we'll get to the excretory system, with the kidneys as the main stars, which handles all the cleanup. It's really a story of intake, transformation, and then removal.
Okay, part one, the journey in. This first leg is all about the pure mechanics of getting air from the outside world deep, deep into your lungs. Think of the path air takes like a big branching tree, but upside down. It comes in through your nostrils, goes down the main trunk, that's your trachea or windpipe, and then it splits into two big branches, the bronchi. From there, it just keeps branching into smaller and smaller bronchioles, until finally we get to the leaves of our tree, the alveoli.
But how does the air actually move? It's not magic, it's just pure mechanics. When you breathe in, like you see on the left, your rib cage actually moves up and out. At the same time, your diaphragm, that big muscle under your lungs, contracts and flattens out. This makes more space in your chest, and that pulls the air in. And breathing out, well, everything just relaxes and goes back to where it was, pushing the air out. Simple as that.
And this table just breaks it down perfectly. It's this beautiful pump system, you know? Your muscles contract, your chest gets bigger, air rushes in, then they relax, chest gets smaller, air gets pushed out. It's so elegant, and it's happening inside you right now.
All right, the air has arrived at its destination. So let's move on to part two. We're zooming way in now, from the big mechanical movements to the microscopic level. This is where the real purpose of that breath is about to be revealed.
And we've reached the end of the line, the alveoli. Your lungs have something like 700 million of these little tiny elastic air sacs. They kind of look like little clusters of grapes. And this is where the real magic of breathing happens. Okay, get ready for this because it is a mind-blowing fact. If you could take all those millions of alveoli and flatten them out, their total surface area would cover about 70 square meters. That's literally the size of a tennis court packed inside your chest. And that massive surface area, that's the secret to making gas exchange incredibly fast and efficient.
And this right here shows that exchange perfectly. It all works because of a process called diffusion. See, there's a ton of oxygen in the air you just breathed in, right? So it naturally moves across the super thin wall of the alveolus and into your blood where there's less of it. And at the exact same time, the carbon dioxide, a waste product that's packed in your blood, moves the other way, into the alveolus so you can breathe it out. It's a perfect swap.
So the bottom line is, the alveoli are perfectly designed for this job. You can think of this as the capsule notes on why they're so good. Their walls are incredibly thin, just a single cell thick. They have a moist surface, which actually helps gases dissolve. They're wrapped in this dense web of tiny blood vessels called capillaries. And of course, there's that massive surface area. It's an absolute masterpiece of biological engineering.
Okay, so we've captured the oxygen. Awesome, but where's it going? Well, that brings us to part three of our journey, the destination. We're now following that oxygen molecule as it hitches a ride in your bloodstream.
The ultimate goal, the entire reason you breathe in the first place, is this: cellular respiration. This is the process where every single one of your cells uses that oxygen to break down glucose, the sugar from your food, to release the energy that keeps you alive. This is what keeps the lights on.
And it pretty much happens in two main phases. The first one, glycolysis, takes place in the main part of the cell, and it doesn't even need oxygen. It gives you a little burst of energy. But the second phase, inside the mitochondria, that's the real powerhouse. It uses the oxygen we've been tracking to generate a massive amount of energy, which it stores in molecules called ATP. You can think of ATP as the tiny rechargeable batteries that power literally everything you do.
And this slide gives us a great visual map of that. That first small energy phase happens out here, in the main body of the cell. But then, if we zoom in on the right, we see the mitochondrion, the power plant of the cell. This is where our oxygen finally gets put to work to create the vast majority of your body's energy.
You know, every power plant creates some waste, and our cells are no different. Which brings us to part 4, taking out the trash. The journey isn't really over until we've cleaned up all the byproducts.
So our circulatory system, the same highway that delivered the oxygen, now doubles as the garbage truck. It picks up the main waste product, carbon dioxide, and carries it all the way back to the lungs so you can exhale it. But our cells make other kinds of wastes too, like urea. And you can't breathe that stuff out. It needs a completely different exit route.
And that route leads right here, to the kidneys. These organs are just incredible. They are the body's master filtration system. Every single drop of your blood passes through them to get cleaned of waste products like urea. Inside millions of tiny filters, your kidneys do this amazing 3-step dance. First, filtration. Under high pressure, they push all the small stuff, water, waste, and even the good stuff, out of the blood. Second, reabsorption. Your body is smart, so it pulls back all the essential things it needs, like glucose and water. And finally, secretion. It does one last pass, actively pumping out any leftover bits of trash. What's left behind is now urine.
So now that we've followed that single breath all the way through, let's zoom out for part 5 and take a look at the bigger picture. Because you know, humans aren't the only ones who have to solve this problem of getting energy in and waste out. Just look at how other life forms get it done. A tiny, single-celled amoeba, it just lets gases diffuse right across its cell membrane. Super simple. An earthworm, which is a bit more complex, uses its entire moist skin as one big breathing surface. The solution always fits the organism's design.
If you go into the water, fish have developed these amazing, intricate gills to pull dissolved oxygen straight from the water. And what about plants? Oh yeah, they breathe too, using these tiny little pores on their leaves called stomata to swap gases with the air. Different environments, different strategies, but it's all for the same fundamental need.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. It doesn't matter if you're a single cell or a complex human being. The fundamental rule of life is exactly the same. You have to get the fuel you need in, and you have to get the toxic waste out. Respiration and excretion are just the two sides of that essential coin.
So the next time you just take a simple, quiet breath, just pause for a second. Think about that incredible journey it's about to start. Through all those branching airways, across a surface the size of a tennis court, into your blood to power every single cell, and the complex cleanup that has to follow. It's a whole universe of activity happening in one silent moment. Pretty amazing, isn't it?